When I went to Japan last year, I realized how much I needed a pocket Wi-Fi device in order for me to preserve the battery of my daily driver. I considered getting a pocket Wi-Fi device, but I realized what if I just get another phone so that I could use it as my secondary phone as well. And so I got the LG Wing. Before we begin, kindly take note that this video is recorded with LG V60 ThinQ 5G. As most of you know, LG has stopped producing phones since 2021, and this is how they went out from the mobile market. Shout out to Nante for giving me this LG Wing. This phone is valued for around 14,500 pesos or around $259. I got the phone already updated to Android 11, and so I had to update it to Android 13. Comparing this to the V60, this is much more narrower and so it is more comfortable to the hands, especially if you have smaller hands like me. Rotating the screen is also easier with the right hand compared with the left hand. As you can see, you cannot swivel it the other way, see? But instead, you have to swivel it in its natural form. It sports a 6.8-inch POLED rotating display with a secondary 3.9-inch GOLED screen, Gorilla Glass both in the front and in the back, with an IP54 rating of dust and splash resistant, and LG has this water repellent coating around. I haven't dropped the phone for more than a meter high, but so far with small drops, it cannot break this phone. Used it in the shower, of course not it getting wet, and it still works just as fine. This phone also has Qualcomm Snapdragon 765G octa-core processor and Adreno 620 GPU. I mostly use this in opening 3D models in SketchUp and AutoCAD drawings during meetings. This is another phone that rarely offers an expandable storage with a micro SD card slot, an option of 128GB and 256GB of internal storage, and it has 8GB of RAM. But for me, I have the 128GB of internal storage. The sound that this phone produces is adequate with its single speaker at the bottom. Unfortunately, you won't be getting a 3.5mm headphone jack on this one. You can only enjoy LG's 3D sound engine when headphones are plugged, unlike with the V60 that you can use it during loudspeaker use. For its cameras, it sports a 64MP main sensor with optical image stabilization, 13MP ultrawide, and another 12MP ultrawide with a 120-degree field of view, which LG calls the ultra-wide gimbal motion camera. The gimbal feature on this phone, which you can use when the primary screen is rotated, is extremely impressive. A drawback of this is you can only shoot up to full HD resolution. A dual LED dual tone flash and videos can record up to 4K at 60 frames per second with electronic image stabilization. If you're a travel vlogger, then this phone is definitely for you. I used this in my Sikihor and Batangas trips, and I wasn't disappointed with the results. Images turned out amazing. A lot of details, vibrant colors, and produces Instagrammable shots without the need to edit. Here are some sample shots. The selfie cam is a motorized 32MP shooter with HDR and can record videos up to 4K at 30 frames per second. Check out some sample shots here. Let's talk about the features that you can do when rotating the phone. LG has put an option to lock the secondary screen to avoid accidentally pressing on something when using the primary screen. Watching videos on YouTube is also great having the important controls on the second screen. You cannot view the comments while watching though. There is also a trackpad feature, which is very useful, especially when trying to press small buttons or trying to point out a detail on your screen. One of the worst drawbacks of this phone is its unreliable fingerprint sensor. I had the worst time registering my fingerprints on this phone. I came across another video stating this problem, so I believe it's very common within the LG Wing users. As a secondary phone, I got used to it, and I think it's better to use another form of unlocking for this one. The 4000 mAh battery exceeds my expectations. As mentioned in the beginning of this video, I mainly use this as my pocket Wi-Fi device whenever I travel. I also use this as my navigator sometimes, and it can supply my V60 around 3 to 4 hours of Wi-Fi, and I can still have around 15% to 30% of battery left. The phone charges to up to 25 watts wired and 13 watts for wireless charging. It is not the fastest, but it can charge from around 20% to 100% in around 2 hours. It charges faster than my V60, perhaps because of the battery capacity. Just like the cons I mentioned in my V60 video, Google Assistant is unreliable, especially when you're playing music or videos. The Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and mobile data also aren't switchable when the device is locked. When unlocked, there is an annoying prompt that asks you to switch it on or off after pressing it. For both LG Wing and LG V60 ThinQ, I can appreciate the fact that they don't heat up or warm up during long time use. Should you buy the LG Wing? I wouldn't suggest for you to use it as your daily driver since it won't be getting more updates, and also for the fingerprint issues. It is a great secondary phone though because of its cameras and its performance and especially its battery life. Not to mention the expandable storage it has, so you can transfer your files or photos or videos from your previous phones to this one. If you're interested in buying the LG V60 ThinQ 5G instead, you can watch the video on the link on the description below. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope I get to see you next time.